All right, House of Hardcore in town, houseofhardcore.net. It's going to be an awesome show. Tommy Dreamer's here with me now. It's actually called, on Facebook, I saw Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore. So I guess you own the House of Hardcore.
I do. I own the name. I've been doing some legal things. You know, when you start your own company, you got to learn. First of all, everybody has a price tag, you know, flights and hotels, and I got to pay the guys. But you also got to get your protection out there, you know, because someone else could come along, take that wonderful name, which was actually, you know, the original ECW dojo was called House of Hardcore.
I do remember that now that you're saying
but
it.
It wasn't really officially, like, monikered that. We did everything illegally in the original ECW. But, you know, you go on LegalZoom, you pop stuff out for like $200.
Did you know that when I was researching you, because I knew about you, but I wanted to learn more, so I could ask you questions. Did you know that TD Madison, one of your wrestling names, is actually a law firm?
Really?
Yeah, so you could maybe get a discount.
I own that as well. You guys owe me
go
money.
fight the law firm. But no, it's going to be a great show. I was saying before, you have everybody on there. You have Terry Funk in town. That's rare to see that anymore. You have Ric Flair in the same building as Terry Funk. You're wrestling Lance Storm, and your guys' feud goes way back. I know you guys are going to go in the ring and just light it up. There's a lot of good people on this show. The Steiner brothers. It doesn't stop. I don't know. It's like a Supercard. I don't know how you get so many people in one place.
Because I love... This is Philadelphia. You know, I've said this before. I was born into this world, Thomas Laughlin, but when I leave this world, I'll be most remembered as Tommy Dreamer. And Tommy Dreamer was born in Philadelphia, and my career pretty much came to fruition here, and I've had an amazing, amazing run. I've been doing this since I'm 18. I'm now 42, and, you know, I've made money for WWE. I've made money for ECW. I've made money for, you know, TNA, and, you know, with my mind and my body, you know, writing pay-per-views and television. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to risk it all and try it. If, you know, there's nothing like failing, because you can always learn from your mistakes. And, you know, I don't mind failing. I was successful on the first one, and this one's already going to be successful. But when I'm taking what things I didn't like from the first show that I did in New York to here, and I said, if I did one show and it was successful, I'm going to do another one, and I'm going to do the other one in Philly. You know, the first one was right place, right time. And then this kind of fell into the same spot, so I'm really, really happy I'm doing it. I put a lot of money on the table, and, you know, it's hopefully going to pay off. And I mean, I'm at a break-even point already, so all my bills are paid. I don't have to worry about anything. I just like to make a little bit of extra money so I can, you know, do House of Hardcore 3. Yeah,
man, you're putting all the work in. You deserve it. And you have been, you know, you're talking about when you're in Philly, you're Tommy Dreamer. I've always equated you to almost like the Rocky story.
Yep.
When Stallone's in Philly, he's not Stallone, he's Rocky. When you're in Philly, oh my God, it's Tommy Dreamer. It's the same kind of, you can look at the movie and look at your career. It's like the same thing.
Yeah, 100%.
I look at you as a fan when you first started, and you trained with Johnny Rodz, correct?
Correct.
Okay, when you were in there with Johnny Rodz, was he like in there rolling around with you, or was it somebody else?
The wrestling business was different. I was in the ring with Johnny Rodz, and I was, you know, one of the last few students that he actually would get in the ring with. There was a couple after me, but Johnny was very, very hands-on with a lot of his guys, and you know, he's a WWE Hall of Famer for a reason. He had a job in the original WWE working for Vince McMahon's father, and he was the guy who was like testing all the new talent as they would come in. And back then it was, you know, he was a shooter, he was a hooker,
yeah.
And which meant he would hook you into holds and actually really hurt you. Johnny would stretch us, your tongue hanging out, crying, you know, and it was... I remember watching him. He had to be older than I am now, and he had Damien Demento, who at the time was one of the biggest on-the-rise stars because he looked like one of the Road Warriors. He would wrestle him for an hour, and then he'd get and do about 45 minutes with Bill DeMott, Hugh Morris, who's the trainer now in you know, WWE. Then he would do about a half hour with Taz, and then he would do 15 minutes with me. He would never get out of the ring. And he would also be teaching you how, like, if a guy was tired, but he'd also be hurting you. And once then, I was just turned 18 when I was training. When Johnny would, you know, want to stretch the young kids, it was one thing. But then when Johnny wasn't there, it was worse for me because I was a good-looking kid. You know, I had a middle to upper class upbringing. And I was in the ring with men who were looking at this to find a career, to find a job. And we were also in Gleason's gym, which is a world-famous boxing. Yeah. And they would always, oh, wrestling's fake. And they would lay their stuff in. And I was beaten up from about 12 o'clock in the afternoon till about 7 o'clock at night. But I never left the ring for just Mondays and Tuesdays. I was physically hurt and mauled for 2 days, and then I would cry driving home, and then but it kind of made me the man who I am.
That's
today.
what I was going to ask you. I mean, if you could go back and rearrange things and change things, I mean, did that make you the performer and the man you are?
Would not change a thing. When I first came to ECW, the fans liked my wrestling ability, but they didn't like me because I was so darn good looking.
Yeah,
and
what a curse!
They couldn't. I was, it was the era, and I was just a pretty boy babyface. And it was Terry Funk who pulled me aside, and he was just, and I was so trying, like, everything Philadelphia. If I could wear a Flyers jersey to the ring, whatever. And Terry Funk just kind of sat me down, and he said, "Just be yourself. Just be Tommy." And he goes, "People will like you." He goes, "You just be yourself." And he's like, "Grow a goatee. It'll make you look tougher." And he goes, "And when you get older, it'll hide your double chin." So it's kind of paid off for me, still working to me for this day. And, then it was Taz who, Paul Heyman, I guess, I was I'm the original Paul Heyman guy. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Hey, Dreamer is tough. Because Taz used to do all his suplexes on me. I was his crash test dummy. Like,
really?
Let me grab your leg and your head and throw you backwards." Okay. And I would just get up. And he's like, "This kid is tough. Like, I beat him up, and I've watched him get beat up by men every day." And so that's where we came up with the Sandman caning angle. And then it just kind of continued from there. And, I wish I could be Tommy Dreamer all the time because he doesn't feel pain. Tom Laughlin, sometimes he feels a lot of pain, especially if he stubs his toe at the edge of the bed, and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh!" And my wife, who was my manager in ECW, Beulah McGillicuddy, she's like, "I have seen you literally get thrown from the top of buildings and just be like, 'I'm fine,' and then you just cry like a baby." I was like, "Yes," because that was Tommy Dreamer. But yeah, I mean, I've had an amazing relationship with. I don't really consider them my fans. They've been my family. I have everything in my life because of wrestling. I have, a beautiful wife. I have beautiful kids. I have a few homes, everything because of wrestling. And I have a lot of great friends who, again, it's almost like a party for me on Saturday. I got Sandman's 50th birthday, who looks horrible. He looks like he's, and he's technically died 3 times in his life, so that's okay. He's still going, so I'm happy he made it to 50. Terry Funk is going to be 69 years old on Sunday.
God bless him, man.
And he still wants to go out there and ruin his brand new knees. So, we're going to have a party, and that's what I want it to be. I look at this show and how I always looked at wrestling as an event. Some of my greatest moments in life or memories, I was at WrestleMania 1 as a kid, and I remember walking up that escalator with my father. My father's no longer with me, and he passed away, and I remember that moment. I remember the first time the NWA came to the Meadowlands, and I saw Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat with my father. And my father had 5 masters. He was a brilliant man, and he said, "I don't know about professional wrestling. I think it's fake. But what those guys did was real."
That's
awesome. I
awesome.
told that to both Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. And I watched them go for an hour. And I watched my father, who only was there because his son wanted it to be there, and jumping up and down and cheering with him. My father took me to my first show for my birthday with my best friend, and that's where the first wrestler I ever saw on television was Bob Backlund. I met Bob Backlund. He shook my hand, and I remember that power of, I turned to my best friend, and I was like, I thought I was like, I had a power.
From Bob Backlund.
Bob Backlund later snubbed me that night.
Yeah, I think I heard this story. Didn't you wait outside for him?
Wait outside in the sleet and rain for about there was about 6 people out there. And first Arnold Skolin came, who was his manager, and he gave me my first ever wrestler's autograph, which I still have.
Very cool.
And then Bob came, and I wrote a sign for him, and this is when signs weren't that popular to bring to an arena. It was on 2 pieces of loose leaf paper because I wrote the ND for Backlund longer. Okay. And so here comes Bob, and he's got his satin jacket and his towel on him, and he's walking, and I'm all amped up again. Dude, there was 6 people in the sleet of February in White Plains, New
You're
York.
A fan, man.
And I'm sitting like this, and there's me, 2 weird fans, and what I would now consider groupies, just waiting to hang out with Bob Backlund, and he was always a proper man. He said, "All right, guys, I'll see you later." And I was like, "No, Bob, you told me to wait." And he was just like, he looked right into my eyes and hit me with the most influential things I've ever said. And he said, "I'll get you next time, kid."
Oh,
and he got in his
man.
car and drove away.
Those 2 seconds to sign that's
I
horrible.
was devastated. And kind of I think that's why how I always have taken time to talk to people because, one, I'm still a fan, but also I remember getting in my father's car and crying, and because my hero snubbed me. And I mean, I've always been like that way. And, two things. One, I remember training with John Cena in a gym in, like, I don't know, Oklahoma. And two guys come up to me like, "Yo, Dreamer, John Cena's over there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I came with him." And my appeal to people was they viewed me as Tommy Dreamer, the guy from their gym, and not Tommy Dreamer, the WWE superstar who's hanging out with. And that's kind of always been, I'm just been the regular guy.
That worked for you, though.
Yeah, 100%.
That worked for you. It was almost like a gimmick. But really quick, I mean, I don't want to get off track, but Crush snubbed me when I was a kid, man. TWA, my first ever wrestling show, and predecessor to ECW, you know that. And he was wrestling Billy Jack Haynes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was Luna Vachon, Blackhearts, they were all there. Great show. My first ever live show. And I made this sign on my kitchen floor, Crush, and I fixed it up real nice. And I went there, and I'm the only kid with a sign. And it was a high school gym. I'm screaming, "Crush, Crush!" like a madman. He was demolishing. No, he's demolishing Crush now. And I was so excited to get the autograph. He flew the coop right after. I got Billy Jack and Tony Stetson's autograph too. It's my first wrestling autograph.
3 sporting awesome mullets. To go full circle, at 39 years old, I met Bob Backlund again.
Oh, you did? Oh.
We had lunch, and I told him that story. And I met Bob Backlund on my first ever WWE tryout. And then I met him when he tried to do a real run-in during an ECW show, and we had Atlas Security throw him out. That's a whole other story.
Why don't I remember that?
Yeah, because it wasn't known. I got a book. I know where the bodies are buried, buddy. And then my friend, he was doing an autograph convention, and I told Bob Backlund a story, and his face turned beet red. And it was a Saturday, and he was apologizing. I was like, "Bob, I've lived your life.
Yeah.
You can't sign for everybody." And I was like, "But you could have signed for me because there was 6 people there." So anyway, that Tuesday, I had sent to my house an autographed picture, Bob Backlund holding the WWF title.
Really?
Sent to my number one friend, Tommy Dreamer. "Thanks for, being a fan, Bob Backlund."
That's a good guy to do that, man.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's really
off
cool.
camera, I will tell you a Christian and Crush story as well.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Because, we'll let Christian tell you it, but I'll tell you it off camera. And again, Philadelphia, you've always been great to me, and this is a way, I view professional wrestling as the greatest form of entertainment. I feel it's more physical than football because we don't wear pads.
Thank you.
And there's no, timeouts. You got to go. It's better than any movie out there because you can yell at the screen, but the screen doesn't yell at you back. And I have a bunch of hardworking men and women who are going to go and bust their tails for, the entertainment dollar. Everybody on my show is handpicked to be there because they have something called pride and passion and still want to go out there and perform. And, it's funny, like, again, as a promoter, I could charge for parking and pocket all that.
Yeah.
I said no.
That's cool. Free parking, because especially in Philly, man.
Yeah, it's just, and like, I remember I did an event there. I was like, "Parking's how much?" And then, like, when I went and did the thing, I was like, I could make all this on cars. So I'm like, you do the math. But I hate going to an event and I got to pay for parking.
Yeah.
They bang you out big, and I'm not going to do that. So
that's cool, man. You're going to put on a good show, though.
Everything is affordable. I am a father of 2, and I know how much it costs to go to a movie and popcorn and all that stuff. So, I want the fans to enjoy what I've loved my whole life.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure they are with that card you have. Again, you want to see more houseofhardcore.net, and I hope you keep doing these shows. You come back to Philly because, it is a loaded card. I know I'm going to be there. Everybody's going to be there, so I look forward to it. Thank you for coming in.
Thank
Tommy
you for having
Dreamer,
me.
man.